They thought Naomi Pierce would be an easy target, just another quiet black woman moving into a gated Los Angeles suburb. What they didn't know was that she had eyes everywhere, watching long before they did. The moving truck came on a Tuesday morning, the kind of hour where most residents were logged into Zoom calls or off at Pilates. Naomi stood beside her matte black SUV, clipboard in hand, calm, measured. Jeans, boots, a gray long-sleeve shirt, no makeup, no pretense. To her, this wasn't a fresh start, it was a relocation. Her posture spoke more like someone used to field briefings than friendly hellos. The house was perfect on paper, Spanish style, manicured lawn, HOA-approved shutters. She'd bought it outright, no mortgage, no co-borrower. A clean move, but nothing ever stays clean for long. Douglas Furnell, the self-proclaimed head of the HOA, introduced himself first, a man who wore control like cologne. His handshake was limp, his smile thinner than paper. "Moving in alone?" he asked, scanning the camera boxes by her porch. Naomi's gaze didn't waver. "For now." "Well, we like to keep things orderly here." "I'm very orderly," she said, voice soft but final. By nightfall, the whispers had started. The woman with the dog who lingered too long by her lawn. The note slipped under her mat, reminder, no religious or political decor allowed. There was no flag, no sign, just a ceramic sun her niece had painted. The message wasn't about decor, it was about control. Naomi had seen this performance before, not in neighborhoods, but in embassies, in compounds, in unstable places pretending to be civilized. That night she installed 4 cameras, one above the door, one near the gate, 2 at opposite angles of the yard. It wasn't paranoia, it was protocol. By the end of week 1, she'd already logged 3 anonymous complaints: improper vehicle size, trash bins placed incorrectly, noise from a television that hadn't even been turned on. Every note printed, unsigned, deliberate. The HOA's book of order wasn't about keeping peace, it was about keeping people like her in check. One evening, as she adjusted a porch light, she caught a reflection in the window. A man across the street recording with his phone. He didn't flinch when she stared back, just kept filming, slow and certain. That was her first flag. The second came when her gate latch appeared scuffed the next morning. Not broken, but tested. She sent a message from a contact listed only as Deb's Plumbing. Settled. Activity odd. Passive monitoring engaged. No reply. She didn't need one. The harassment grew bolder. A fake noise complaint brought police to her door. They left apologetic but tense, clearly sent by someone with influence. Naomi stood on her porch after they drove off, phone still recording, eyes steady. She wasn't scared, she was assessing. A few days later, the trap sprang wider. 2 men arrived in a silver sedan, no plates, fake badges clipped to their belts. They claimed to be with HOA enforcement. Their tone was friendly, almost rehearsed. "Miss Pierce, you've got some violations to discuss. Mind stepping outside?" She didn't move. Those badges are printed, not embossed, and HOA policy requires 72 hours notice for in-person inspection. You're not official, you're fishing. They exchanged a glance. Then the man on the left reached for her arm. Bad move. Before his hand even landed, Naomi's training kicked in. Twist, pivot, control. His wrist bent, thumb trapped. A clean breakaway. The second man froze, half stepped forward, unsure. Then he heard the crunch of gravel. 2 black SUVs turning the corner. No lights, no markings, just quiet authority. The men tried to run. They didn't get far. Within minutes, they were on the curb, hands zip-tied, eyes wide. The plainclothes team didn't flash badges. They didn't need to. One of them approached Naomi. "You all right, ma'am?" "Minimal contact, no injuries. Camera caught it all." "Good," he replied. "You did the right thing calling it in." "I didn't call, but someone did." Inside was a familiar face, sipping tea. Karina Bell, her retired neighbor, or so everyone thought. Karina had once worked quiet logistics for federal security, and Naomi had saved her life overseas years ago. The favor was paid back tonight. By dawn, the news had spread. 2 fake HOA officers detained, a federal task force on site, neighbors whispering through curtains. Douglas Vernell's perfect little community was now crawling with investigators. When agents cross-referenced HOA emails, they found a money trail.
Civic Harmony Consultants LLC, a shell company funding neighborhood surveillance on undesirable residents. Vernell's signature was everywhere. The harassment, the false reports, the fake citations, all part of a network stretching beyond one block.
Naomi watched as they led the men away. Vernell avoided her eyes, pale and trembling behind his blinds. He'd wanted order. Now he had exposure. Days later, she sat across from federal investigators downtown. The same kind of rooms she'd once briefed others in. One of them, a sharp-eyed man in rolled-up sleeves, slid her a file. "You know what this is? Background trace? On you. Pulled 6 months ago by one of the HOA contractors. They didn't know who you were, but they were nervous enough to dig." Naomi nodded slowly. "They were testing boundaries, waiting for me to react. And when you didn't," the agent said, "they tried to create the story themselves." He wasn't wrong. People like them didn't fear confrontation. They feared documentation. When Naomi returned home that night, the street was quiet. No cars watching, no notes, just silence and the hum of her security lights. Karina joined her on the porch, 2 mugs in hand. "You think it's over?" she asked. Naomi gave a faint smile. Nothing ever ends. It just changes hands. By the weekend, federal subpoenas were issued, news vans appeared at the gate, and Rosewood Heights became a trending story. The HOA that went too far. People online called Naomi a hero. She didn't feel like one. She sat that evening with her laptop open, typing a message that wasn't meant for the internet. It was meant for anyone who'd ever felt watched, silenced, or pushed out. Politeness won't save you. Preparedness might. Stay visible even when they want you invisible. She hit send, closed her laptop, and looked out over her porch, her fortress, her proof, her peace. Because Naomi Pierce didn't come to Los Angeles to fit in. She came to remind people what happens when you mistake quiet for weakness. If this story moved you, don't scroll past it. Share it, talk about it, and let people see what happens when silence is mistaken for weakness. Naomi's story isn't just fiction. It's a mirror of real power struggles happening in communities everywhere. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, and help spread stories that remind the world preparedness protects, visibility saves, and courage changes everything.